Annette, yes, my daughter. I hope she wasn't slacking off again with her nose in science fic. Wonderful! Did you talk to her? Great! On a scale of...
Her opinion of her daughter depends on how well she lured you into the store.
Come now, it's not personal. It's about proper sales practices and market research. My precious, her dedication brings joy to my heart. If you have children, I hope they turn out as great as my Annette. As a young girl should be, with the proper attitude, she'll have a bright financial future.
The woman before you scans the store, her shoulders rigid and tense. Every now and then, she nudges her glasses.
Cursed? Who said that? Annette? I will have a word with her. This place is not cursed. It has a robustly magnetic energy. Good for commercial activity. My business is thriving, sir.
Doesn't feel like it's thriving. Feels ghostly.
A fridge? No, I don't know anything about a fridge. Aren't you interested in books?
Wow, you work hard. Oh, yes. You hustle. You're a provider. It's tough out there, but look at yourself. You're a human pedometer. You must have walked 200,000 steps down cracked asphalt, mosaic, sand, and linoleum after you re-emerged. That is the sign of a hustler who never gives up. The world is harsh and people are evil. You didn't make it that way, and you won't let it break you. That's just what it's like. Life and death. But you got gills on your side, baby. Got those black papers with the faces of the innocents on them. You bring in the Franco-Negros and the Solas. It ain't easy, but you do it. Day in and day out. You didn't make the rules, but you won't lose. You're a cop and a sprinter. And oh yeah, you took that bribe hard. You're a killer. You didn't log that in as a donation either. You don't log any of that shit in. You're a straight rider. Sure. And has it been easy? Is life easy? Have you not gone into cardiac arrest? Are you not about to have an anxiety attack or shoot yourself in the mouth? But you still hustle 24/7, ride or die. Now, ask yourself. Are you rich? That's right. You work harder than anyone. You almost rode yourself to the grave and you're still practically a hobo. Why? Because of the taxes. G-Man's got his jam-covered sticky fingers in your pocket, stealing from you every time you buy, sell, walk, talk, fart, so much as sneeze. Every time you wipe your ass. They got their direct and their indirect modes of taxation. Sales tax, excise duty, extraction tax, alimony, one tax that doesn't even have a name. Plus there's the stuff people in other countries pay for. That makes them ask for more money from you. Here, total tax duties add up to $98% of all your money. Here you go, hustler. Fight the righteous fight. Free the people. Keep it real. Keep it street. Keep foaming at the mouth furiously on the tax issue. Medicinal purposes of the Pale. The cover of this heavy tome features a number of esoteric symbols. Flipping through the book, you find a number of sections on the general benefits of the Pale. A large pharmacopoeia makes up nearly half of the book. You come across the following explanation. While modern pharmacopoeia are continually updated by so-called experts based on the results of clinical trials, readers will find assembled here the timeless wisdom relied upon by generations of traditional Seolite medicine practitioners, Mesk mystics, and Ilmaran folk doctors. Finally, something to calm the angry spirits that have been plaguing you. It seems to contain descriptions of the medicinal properties of various ingredients that may be gathered from the Pale, as well as instructions for producing a variety of herbal remedies. There are a number of Seolite tonics that promise to improve your short-term memory, but nothing that speaks to your condition. What you're describing is booze. You don't need any herbs for that. There's nothing in here that speaks to hangovers directly. However, while browsing through the various descriptions, you become convinced that you could assemble something from the ingredients listed here. Want to give it a shot? First, you need to choose a base ingredient. Next, you'll need to combine the base ingredient with an appropriate vehicle. Lastly, is there anything else you'd like to add? The rue and aloe vera make this poultice ideal for alleviating minor injuries and inflammation. It won't do anything for your hangover though. Be that as it may, it might have been useful to have such a thing for the trials you'll soon be facing. It's a shame you can't get your hands on these ingredients. Would you like to try again? Very well. First, choose a base. Next, lastly, the combination of mint and birch bark would you like to try again? Very well. Next, lastly, you've created a delicious tincture of whiskey and ginger. According to the pharmacopoeia, if only you could find one of these right now. Would you like to try again? You close the book and find yourself staring. In your hands, you hold a brand new copy of the game, Suzerainty. It's snugly wrapped in a skin of plastic. The cover features a charming illustration depicting a mass of grinning laborers loading goods onto a ship, while a richly dressed administrator oversees their work. The box has a nice heft to it. You hear the rattle of individual wooden tokens and feel their weight shifting back and forth. What treasures wait in store for you? Even before you open it, you can tell that this will be a meaty game of grand strategy and complex player interactions. The plastic wrap rips off as easily as a bodice in a tawdry historical romance. There's a hiss as the lid slides off. Inside, you find a thick, full-color rulebook and more than a dozen pouches of various wooden components. Welcome to Suzerainty, a game of economic strategy for the whole family. The rulebook is sumptuously illustrated and thick as a Gradian novel. The colorful illustrations depict cheerful workers picking apricots, hauling marble sculptures out of crumbling temples, and harvesting a strange magenta-leafed plant. Everyone is smiling. The instructions are opaque at first and introduce many concepts you're not familiar with. Fortunately, there are many diagrams and examples throughout. You soon figure out the basic conceit. Each player represents an administrator for the suzerain of Revachol. Your objective is to increase the suzerain's wealth and renown by accumulating victory points. There is no path to wealth and renown but through the suzerain. As one of the suzerain's trusted administrators, your very function is the glorification of Revachol. That's where the suzerain's vassals come in. The game features 4 vassal nations, each one home to an economically important resource. Each turn, the player collects resources from vassals where they've placed workers. They may then rearrange their workers, fulfill contracts for coin and bonuses, or build structures back in Revachol. Boring, boring, boring. Tear up this rulebook and commit some old-school atrocities. Suzerainty is a family game. The only atrocities you'll be committing are against the social standing of your rival administrators as you bring in ever more resources and power for the suzerain. The actual scoring system appears infinitely complex, with a series of tables and appendices required to compute each player's final victory point total. You open up a number of pouches containing wooden tokens. There are also several punch boards with other cardboard components that will need to be punched out before you can play. Each cardboard token makes a satisfying tsk as you pop it out. Soon, a neat pile of cardboard coins and counters has accumulated before you.
What? You're not going to offer to let me punch any of them out?
In addition to the worker and building tokens used by each player, there are also several piles of colorful resource tokens, each representing one of the game's 4 principal resources. From the Empire of Feltherre, orange apricot tokens. From Ilmarat, the ancestral name of Ilmara, gray marble block tokens. From the Seminine Islands, white sacks of sugar tokens. And from Supra Muindi and Sarah Maritza, magenta tokens for unprocessed cocaine leaves.
Oh, those are nice.
You hold the open game box. The lieutenant looks over the rulebook before he sees something that makes his eyes go wide.
Holy shit. The average playing time for this game is 1 to 6 hours. I'm not sure we can afford to set aside that kind of time for a game.
What is detective work if not an elaborate game? You need logical inference, attention to detail, the ability to analyze your opponent's motives.
I do feel like my thinking has become somewhat rigid. Maybe a little diversion to keep the mind limber is just what's in order.
See? He's doing the hard work himself. All he needed was a little nudge.
All right, you've convinced me. How do we play?
You explain the basic setup procedures to the lieutenant, who seems to be a quick study. You each take your bag of tokens and counters and unfold the board between you. In the center is the crown of Revachol. Radiating outward are her colorful vassals, each one supplying some raw material desired by the suzerain. Apricots from Feltherre, archaeological treasures from Ilmarat, sugars from the Seminine Islands, and magenta cocaine from Supra Muindi and Sarah Maritza. There's also a neat little log to keep track of your progress in case you need to put the game away and return to it later. The lieutenant goes first. He draws a contract card and moves several of his workers to the Feltherre territory of the board, and the others to the Seminine Islands.
All right, detective, your turn.
You have a few options available to you. Will you try to fulfill contracts right away or rearrange your workers to maximize production on future turns? You draw a contract card offering a number of coins in exchange for archaeological treasures. You place all your workers on the Ilmarat territory. On your next turn, you produce 6 units of archaeological treasure and fulfill the contract for a handful of coins.
Not bad, detective.
As he completes his own contract card, the lieutenant is rewarded with 4 coins and a round wooden token that he places in the center of the board.
That's a market. It's worth 2 victory points. Don't worry, it was mostly just luck.
What is that patronizing tone? You're one of the suzerain's trusted administrators. You may need to put the lieutenant in his place. The lieutenant returns your baleful look with a satisfied grin. Glancing over the board, you see several possible strategies. Pressing more workers into service would increase your economic output and help you to survive a possible conflict with the lieutenant. Or you could ignore your labor supply and focus on fulfilling contracts for points and resources. What do you do? Using your powers of persuasion, you convince more workers to join your cause. After several turns, your worker tokens greatly outnumber the lieutenants. A vast army of expendable labor is at your command.
Too bad investing in your workers just isn't worth many points. Take a look at the scoring tables in the back. You see in Table 8C that investing in territorial infrastructure multiplies your final victory point total by 1, which is to say not at all. Whereas erecting monuments in Revachol gives you a multiplier of 5. Yes, precisely.
Now it's the lieutenant's turn to respond. He moves aggressively onto the Feltherre territory. Soon, his workers are producing a steady supply of extremely valuable apricots. How can you let the lieutenant dominate you like that? You need to hit back, and hard. For several turns, you struggle to respond to the lieutenant's burgeoning apricot empire. Eventually, you relocate the majority of your workers to Supremawindi and Saramaritsa, where they begin producing a bumper crop of cocaine tokens. You draw a new contract card. According to the text, there's an aristocrat willing to trade a large supply of cocaine for a number of coins and access to a rare bonus. Amplified music worth 7 victory points. Oh yeah, baby. Cocaine and rock music go together like cocaine and rock music. You've reached a critical strategic juncture. How do you respond to the lieutenant's aggression? It takes several turns, but you slowly begin accumulating the cocaine necessary to complete the contract. When you do, it practically rains cardboard coins on your side. Feels good, doesn't it? But you know what would feel even better? Drugs. Specifically uppers. Speaking of, aren't you supposed to be looking for some right about now? While you daydream about speed, the lieutenant has built himself a formidable economic engine of his own. The end game is upon you. How will you spend the vast resources you've acquired for the glory of the suzerain? Flipping through the manual, you find the most expensive structure in the game, the Revacholian victory column, worth 12 victory points. If you can successfully build it, victory will be all but assured. Alternatively, you could try launching a trade war to crush the lieutenant's economy, or you could blow all that money on a public education system for your worker tokens. The choice is yours. Building the ultimate structure requires diligent economic planning, which you completely fail to do. Rather than build a glorious monument to Revachol's economic superiority, you have to settle for a handful of post offices and school for the blind.
A risky gambit, detective. Sorry it didn't pay off. That might have helped, yes. Now, let's tally up the scores, shall we?
Computing the final scores is almost a game unto itself. You each spend an inordinate amount of time making stacks of coins, consulting tables, and struggling with basic addition and multiplication. After double, then triple checking your maths, you have your final score. 15 victory points. The suzerain will not be impressed.
I've got 26 points. Don't be glum, detective. There's always next time. Figuratively, I mean. There's no way we have time to play this game again. Now, let's clean up.
You hold the open game box. You see a set.
Excuse me, officer. The back room is strictly for employees only. Nothing. Now please go back to browsing the books. Don't you feel compelled to look at the books?
Oddly enough, the more she tries to draw you away from the curtains, the more alluring they become. You see some kind of charm, an irregular polyhedron assembled from bones, sticks, and straw. Inside, a disturbing fish head with empty eye sockets stares at you. Aside from poking at it suspiciously, there is nothing else to do with the fish head charm at this time. The curtains remain shut before you. Just as you're about to pull apart the curtains, the petrified voice of the shop owner cries out once more.
Sir, don't touch that. I told you it's off limits for the customers. Parapsychologically speaking, we're done if you decide to open them. I won't be held responsible for the consequences. It's too... Everybody suddenly needs something from there. Leave the curtains be. It's what it wants.
Okay, so what's in there has a will, and it wants you to enter? This is bad.
No, it's just a storeroom for the employees, I told you. Now please step away from the curtains. Why? It's not like anyone was killed there. I am sorry, I don't mean to be so impolite. Just please don't go there. I can't allow that. You'll only make things worse and unleash the powers. No! Please just talk to me, officer. Come here and let's talk this...
Lies. There is something mysterious about the curtains. The curtains, tattered with age and... You see a dimly lit room full of dusty furniture and trash. A doorway stands in the back, covered in dozens of scary little cage-like trinkets, your shadow looming over it like an omen.
I warned you! You're unleashing forces beyond your understanding.
A heavy door with a missing handle stands before you, covered in dozens, if not hundreds, of little oddly shaped trinkets and charms. It appears to be locked. What if you just break it down? Only an echo. No one is there. That's right. Take in your surroundings. The room is dimly lit and littered with old barbershop rubbish, but the path to the door is clear. It's made of a solid block of wood, but it has stood there for ages. The hinges are old and coated with a carmine layer of rust. It should be. You smash into the wood and see a small crack appear on the doorframe. It's going to take one more try to break through to the other side. But you've done it.
You're not thinking of trying again, are you? What is this place? I think you're right, though it looks like no one's been here in ages. I doubt the electricity still works. Good thing we have a flashlight on us. Don't forget to take it out of your bag before we move on.
An eerie feeling rises in your chest.
Sounds good.
A barbell lies on the floor. The color has worn off its weight plates. It's 60 kilograms. Your triceps hum at the sight of these weights. Show the world what kind of beast it's dealing with. There are no collars on the barbell. This is a safety hazard. Why does it feel so familiar? No, it's not that. It's the stale smell of rubber, the squeaky sound of sneakers, your bruised knee against the mat, and a whistle. Then the feeling is gone. A memory from another life, when you were young and fit.
You're right. The weight may fall off. Better not touch it then. It would be a violation of EPIS safety regulations if the gym was still operating, but it isn't. No one's supposed to come here anymore.
Conjuring up an inhuman amount of strength, you raise the barbell up in the air. Your biceps tremble, but you're a savage. This is a children's game. A warm wave of accomplishment washes over your head as you drop the barbell to the floor. For a moment, it feels like you're strong enough to succeed at anything you ever set your mind to. Hey, but you're still in a ghost house. What if someone heard this? What if they know you're here?
Good technique.
This appears to be some kind of machine with a cube-shaped heart and a wired framework. The keyboard has a rectangular on-off button. A piece of paper still hangs from the printer.
A radio computer. Just sitting here without anyone inside. But we are looking for a fridge, and we are pressed for time, so...
On the other hand, it's not that I'm not interested in abandoned radio computers.
Maybe the body has stopped decomposing somehow. I don't know. You're in charge of this expedition, officer.
Is the lieutenant a little scared? Just now, the machine lights up like some prehistoric animal stirring from its slumber, revealing fluorescent play and print keys on the keyboard. The hatch on the machine's central compartment is wide open. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. It's empty, like a beehive. The filament you have would fit perfectly inside. Like a smooth drawer, the filament slides into place. On the keyboard, the play key starts blinking. A bar of fabric right above the keyboard starts producing a soft hum. The sound of static seeps through the machine's planar magnetic driver. Oh no. It was already glowing and now it's also making a sound. It's probably some alien CO-like technology. The static gets louder, slowly filling up the abandoned hall, until a voice speaks out, crackling and old, cutting into the air.
Good afternoon. Fortress accident en rue de Saint-Ghislaine. This is East Insulindian Repeater Station 1. Please repeat. Is this the production schedule? The filament you have inserted into the reader. That was a question. Good.
You should ask her for a hint.
No. Proceed.
That sounds bad. A login.
Fortress accident. Is there anything else? Fortress accident is the company on whose name the terminal you are currently using has been registered to. One moment. Feltherre Accident SCA produces revolutionary interactive call-in radio games. That's what the catalog says. Any other questions? Yes, I am alive. I am 74 years old and my name is Yvonne.
She repeats passwords. Programming people are all paranoid.
They are merely cautious. It's my job to protect their filaments as a password repeater at the East Insulindian Station. I work as a repeater at the East Insulindian Repeater Station. It's my job to know where you are, Fortress Accident. As for me, well, I am sitting in my cubicle, surrounded by a wall of radios.
On an island on the river Esperance, a small woman, all skin and bones, sits in a room filled with audio equipment. Thousands of tiny lights are reflected back from her prescription lenses, like stars in the dark. Doesn't it get lonely, sitting there all by herself?
Lonely? Why would it get lonely? I get to talk to people all day.
That's why she does this.
Now, please tell me if there's anything else. I thank you.
Tiles on the cube are still the filaments. Your flashlight slides over an old green chalkboard covered in scribbles, sketches, and schemes like some ancient cave mural. Some of the writing has faded with age, but you can still make out sections here and there. Photos and drawings have been pinned to the board. These lithe, pointy-eared creatures appear to be different types of welkins. You make out autumnal candle welkins, casting wax-based magic. Translucent welkins, with organs shining under their skin, and even ether welkins, hailing from the vast emptiness of sidereal space. Who are all those creatures? Fantasies of a tortured, feverish mind? One of the Welkins, towering among the rest, appears to be different, however. It's Vara Hamira, a high Welkin, his face white and scarred like cracked marble. This is clearly a Welkin supremacist. The note says, all non-Welkin races will be purged. The Haldor, the Twarg, the humans, and even headless men, all of them, purged. Imagine a world filled only with Welkin, Green Welkin, Dread Welkin, and the High Welkin to rule them all.
An inordinate amount of time has gone into drawing these little Welkin creatures. Some people really like building a world, I think, even if it's just for a game. This looks like concept art for a project. It's not really real. Political commentary. That one has a great beard too. Just look at those details. So much effort.
And for what? All gone. The photo collage depicts barren, icy landscapes wrapped in perpetual night. You see permafrost and glacial landforms, dead trees grown in under the snow. Entire oceans have been frozen from shore to shore. There are pictures of settlements on dried-up riverbeds, abandoned in a storm. Animal corpses in the dark, carcasses and bones. Albeit dark and cold, this vision also feels cozy in its own way, like eggnog or morphine, a much-needed respite from our own world. A pinned postcard reads, "The heat death scenario, a desperate fight for geothermal energy engulfs the world as Wirral becomes untethered from its sun, drifting through the universe." This is a monthly calendar from the year 50. Cryptic words like sprint, daily minimi, and GPI span the marker-drawn grid, the grand scheme of production and money. So much pain, back pain, neck pain, headaches, carpal tunnel, chest pain. No gym membership can make up for working in this manner. As time goes on, the numbers in the boxes grow rarer and rarer. The board becomes an empty snowfield in the final days. Only failure and regret dwell in this region.
Looks like they didn't make it.
A note in the bottom left corner of the chalkboard says, "See the prod schedule filament for details." The handwriting is only partly legible, but you can still make out 3 slogans: "Call in, tune out," "Wirral untethered," and "Heat death of the universe." Outside, a cold wind wraps the building in its bosom. Snowflakes in the wind. An old woman passes what the locals call the doomed commercial area. She tries hard not to look at the bookstore windows. It's unwise. This old fireplace is covered in lines drawn in blue and red marker, the mesh spreading over the stone like blood vessels on alabaster skin. It looks ghostly and strangely ancient. A diagram for summoning some time-forgotten being? The symbols seem very esoteric. Radio frequencies, it seems. UKV 123.6, UKV 123.7, UKV 123.9. Some written notes, too. Sparse and cryptic. Unclear. It looks like a cardiovascular system split into veins and capillaries. Very advanced. You think so? The web is comprised of radio stations, all lead back to one red heart, titled The Game Master Frequency. A note says, this one can listen in on any station it wants. Looks like a surveillance program. Someone very important. The leader of a massive on-air game built by these people. Whoever decides to call in to a call-in station, it looks like. All of this is gone, left unrealized.
My God. It's as if the less money they had, the more ambitious their project became. The schedule. I know doom when I see it. The company was running out of funding.
Nothing. It's just lines on marble, an echo from times long gone. No one has used the fireplace in ages.
Okay. What do you think is going on with that computer, chalkboard, and fireplace? No, that's not it. I think it looks like one of those popular pen and paper role-playing games. Only these people were trying to automate it, make it work on radio computers.
Utter madness, he thinks, as a compliment.
Not to my knowledge. They make automated games in Grad, Messina, Königstein. You know, places with industry. But I don't think anyone has attempted to create an inter-isolary game before. We just don't have the technology. Through call-in stations, none of the players have to be physically present. Anyone in the world can participate in the game, as long as they have a two-way radio. Then there's the Game Master frequency that listens in on the smaller call-in stations. I think that was supposed to coordinate the stories, functioning as a master of ceremonies of sorts.
His fascination has swept aside other concerns for the moment. He's a little hooked.
Indeed, those Welkins are a dead giveaway. Role-playing people love that stuff. The world looks like a modified version of the WeWorld board game, with hit death thrown in. No idea. They stopped filling out the schedule on the chalkboard. Indeed, it's ambitious and untethered from reality, but it's too late for that, I'm afraid. Okay, let's keep moving.
Tiles on the cube like a smooth draw. The speaker.
Good afternoon. Please repeat. Good. Please repeat the password. Still no. I am contractually...
I'm afraid we are...
Now, can you please repeat the password? Receive votre accident. Is there anything else I can do for you? Thank you.
Tiles on the cube are still the filaments. You see a terrifying ice bear with a strange compartment in its belly. The door is covered in frost and the bear's eyes are glowing red. This ice bear is a hyper-carnivore. A gust of freezing cold air rushes to greet you. You hear a low grumble as the bear regulates itself. This is the inside of a refrigerator. The lieutenant takes a peek inside. His hand...
Of course, a giant ice bear-shaped fridge. Just what we were looking for. Let's see what's inside.
The shelves are empty. All you see are crumpled ice cream wrappers with the brand name, Revachol Ice City. A handwritten note has been attached to the door. The fridge is huge.
It's certainly an eccentric choice, but it is capacious and cold enough, too.
But the optics on this are awful, he thinks. We need to be as silent as we can.
Shall we go and get the body, then?
The two of you. The body is heavier than you expected and stinkier. It takes half an hour to get it down to the bishop. Then 10 more minutes to stuff it into the fridge. The lieutenant takes a step back to admire your handiwork.
Beautiful. A dead body in an ice bear fridge. This is some of the best police work I've ever done.
You've definitely earned a drink after this. Perhaps even some pagan rites.
I knew you would say that. I knew this would lead to drinking. No, no more. This is paganistic enough, and he does not leave this room.
He means it. He doesn't want to be the ice bear cop.
Did we, though? Okay, maybe we did. At least we've stopped the body from decomposing further. Now you can conduct.
Inside the icy realm of the ice bear fridge, the corpse stands slumped, waiting.
Shoot, Looney Rooney. I like it a lot, brother. This really is your finest hour. You're a genius. A regular Corporangelo. Oh yes, Cobo mi Lobo. In the gift horse's mouth. Tracts and wakes and waterways. Ancient materials buried. Just a small gulp away, my beloved Cobo. A small gulp away. Come back later, Cobo. Amuse yourself with my frank manners and my memento mori features. If possible, also, see me in your dreams.
You pocket the note and the little fridge magnets keeping it on the door. A friendly cartoon bear smiles back at you from a glossy cellophane wrapper. It looks nothing like the fridge or the decomposing body in it.
Good question. It looks like an ice cream fridge.
Somewhere in the past, it's summer. 5-year-old Fifette lets go of her mother's hand, change jingling in her pockets as she hops towards the ice cream stand right across the plaza.
I know. What an unfortunate marketing choice. What is even worse, the bear is still costing them money to this day. The electricity bill must be catastrophic. On the other hand, it did help us with a certain corpse situation.
Lucky us. Your arms reach out and your eyes close, as if by their own volition. It's dark all around. You feel cold, slippery flesh, first with your fingertips, then under the palm of your hand. His face, his cheeks, his nose, his fat, swollen lips. Like a spider, your hand crawls over his features. Everything is silent. You pick it between your fingers. The mass feels large, very porous somehow. Keep crawling, lest you break it. They are swollen shut. You need to really push to get in. Only the little one fits. The flesh changes shape as you bore in, searching for something in the cartilage. The thing you're looking for, it's not here either. Crawl out, spider. The oral cavity is cold and moist. A ball-like tongue attaches itself to the base of the mouth, lolling around like a scallop. You're on the right track. The tongue moves freely in the cavity. The mucus of the mouth is slippery, delicate to touch. From the soft meat, teeth are budding. Hard pearls of bone in the gums and in the back of the mouth. Can you feel it? You're so close. Rip his jaws open now. Look in. A vision of black and dark red death, pried open by your naked hands and studded with teeth. Looks like he's laughing. Death fumes rising from the throat, and there, in the back of his mouth, above the bell of the uvula, right in the soft palate, you see a hole, barely visible to the human eye. It is swollen shut, almost vanished. No larger than 0.4 centimeters in radius.
Keep going.
A black trickle of liquid runs into his throat from the wound. Your index fits right in there. A tight tunnel of flesh opens up. Tissue damage. Wide enough for 2 fingers. As you push both in, you reach through his mouth, right into his brainstem. The basal ganglia feels clumpy. What entered here has torn apart his reptilian complex. The funk soul brother at the back of his head has gone dark forever. Your fingers slide into the remains of his limbic system. There is no resistance. It's gelatinous. The slug-like structures are damaged too. The tearing extends deep into both hemispheres. The undulations of the limbic system have ended. All is quiet. The lieutenant answers with the sound of his pen on paper. Your fingers are all the way in now, reaching toward the inside of his skull. The cavity goes further, but the entry wound isn't wide enough for the rest of your hand to follow. All the muscles in your body harden. Time to enter him. Your fingers reach toward his skull. His cerebral cortex feels like jelly. Cold jelly. Strange fluid streams down your wrist as you push deeper until you feel it on the tip of your finger. Sharp, serrated material. The edges cut right into your skin. The pain is barely noticeable under the adrenaline rush. There's a tiny crack, a protrusion in the cranium, right in the back of his head. Your finger must be pointing straight at it from the inside. The object that is in there stops just short of the skull, in the encephalus, knocking this tiny fracture into the cranium.
We have the makings of a very small exit wound here. Can you get to it?
You push your hand further in. Whatever out comes his small folding knife. The lieutenant moves its blade across the man's skull.
Withdraw your hand 4 centimeters, please.
With a crack, he punches the knife in the skull. Then, one more time, and one more, until the bone comes loose, like eggshell. Inside, you feel the jelly move from his poking.
Can you push it out?
A small flower of metal blossoms from the man's head, followed by your finger.
A bullet. A non-calibre. Rifled. You may remove your hand from the victim's head now, officer. Well done. Here is your prize. We need to add an item to the injury list. High velocity. Temporary cavity in brain tissue. Small exit wound on the occiput. How does that sound? Opinion, fatal injury. And one last thing. We can now fill in injury number 3. Ligament mark. Opinion non-fatal. Post-mortem. Treatment. Yes, and the belt around his neck. The hanging. Even dragging him to the yard. All of it was done after this man was already dead. I have had my doubts about this since you told me he was doing something else at the time of his death. I don't have that kind of intuition. I don't usually trust it. But it made me doubt. There have been other signs too. Small things. We were right not to assign hanging as cause of death, as the perpetrators expected we would.
There's pride in there.
That's for us to find out. But this, it will make finding them just a little easier. To hide something. The real killer, the real motivation, what really happened here. Yes, we should take a closer look at it.
This little thing could reveal much about the weapon that shot it.
Oh, you really do. I am glad to hear you say that. Your room in the whirling in rags should... We bag the corpse and carry him to the holding pen of my kinema. I can transport him to processing myself, but I will be gone for the rest of the day. Work on the case. I'll leave that choice to you.
The word lingers in the air of the basement. Far away, ice cream makers are buzzing, and the sea wind blows outside. Detective.
All right.
There go those beautiful enamel boots.
I will need a little help carrying him.
Two cables are plugged into the breaker box. The red one leads to the ice bear fridge, and the black one to the ice cream maker nearby. Something close to you dies with a soft... A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch black. Looks like this furnace has a face, and it's a face of agony. A hollow ring echoes through the furnace. Your toe hurts. It's dark and grimy here. In the darkness you can hear chatter. It's coming from above. Maybe it's coming from somewhere, or maybe you're just hung over it. This sounded real. A lush, you feel the spirit of Ramut Kara, 3 dangerous stripes. What a proud warrior. An iron safe, what an odd thing to do. Still nothing. Those curtains prove to be surprising. There must be another way to wake up whoever is in there. Bent metal, broken glass. You are the destroyer, the bane of inanimate matter. Kudos.
You broke down? I suppose it's all just a door? This place is cursed, Detective. They don't call it the doomed commercial area for nothing. Just look at the sheer amount of companies that have failed in this house. I hope you're happy now. Happy that you've ruined everything. Now that you've broken the door, the curse is coming to get me as well. Of course you didn't. You're nothing but a policeman. All right. You know what? I'm willing to let you investigate the doomed commercial area. We are set on the path. But before we go on, tell me, did you encounter the malignant entity? You did? Then it has to be true. I've suspected that this woman... Yes, I've heard that. It's enormous. She has barricaded herself behind some metal security curtains upstairs. God knows what she's doing there. Some unnatural magic, I assume. You should go find the entity and ask what happened to all the companies in the building. And do return to me after you've talked to it. I'm quite anxious to know what she has to say about the curse.
You should get back to the furnace. Make some noise. As before. A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch black. Something breaks loose in you.
Hello?
You've awakened the entity.
Hello? Did you say anything? I can't hear you. Please come upstairs. There's a safety curtain on the second floor. I'll open it.